Welcome to the Toronto Untitled Blue Jays podcast. I'm Steve Artabello with Anthony Harris and Theo Giordano. You can find us, as always, at our website, torontountilt.com. You can find our Twitter, at TorontoUntilt. You can find the video for this podcast, obviously, on YouTube, Toronto Untilt. And you can find the audio of our podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts. So that's Apple, Spotify, Google, Apple, or Anchor, Breaker, Bleaker, all of the things. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. Tell them that Jose Berrios isn't trash and that maybe he's a good pitcher and that even though it was frustrating, maybe it wasn't the worst trade ever. Theo, you had some thoughts along those lines.
I'm going to say this right now. We're pretty overreactionary on certain things. As a podcast, I think we react pretty emotionally.
Yeah.
Certain times.
Charlie.
The amount of people I heard this week who were trashing this Berrios trade, who are asking if it's been a bust, how this is, we gave away 2 prospects for this garbage, was crazy. He is going to be our most consistent starter next year. I believe that heavily. He's proven it over a long track record. And today, remarkable. And that's what you should expect most times out.
Yeah, I mean, the White Sox game was frustrating, but this was exactly what you wanted to see. Just came out and dominated the Tigers, just shoving today. Like 11 Ks, 7 innings, 97 pitches, like just efficient too for an 11K game. It was spectacular to see.
Dealt with that rain delay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Jose, the thing about Jose, his strength is his consistency. That's been his best thing, that he doesn't miss starts. He always gives you innings. Yeah, he'll have an off game here and there, but based on his history, you can trust that he's going to bounce back in a big way today when they needed it.
Yeah. And we were talking about how he got tired during that Washington game, and people were a little concerned, including me. I'm like, okay, that sucks. Like, coming late in the year, he can't give us that extra inning. Today, dealt with that rain delay well, came in, pitched through 97 pitches, was remarkable. So that little blimp of fatigue is, hopefully not too serious.
Another positive pitching performance. My God, Robbie Ray. I think we just have to mention just how good that 14 strikeout, like he was untouchable. He's been insane this year. They've been talking the last, 2 or 3 Robbie Ray starts about how he's a Cy Young candidate, and now you just start thinking about it. It's like, well, yeah, he's fighting for the Major League in Ks with Garrett Cole. He's bringing his ERA down closer to a guy like Lance Lynn, who's got a 2.2. I think it's 2.20 still. I think actually he had a start. That was before his last start. Anyways, like, you know what I mean? Like, because Robbie Ray's now, I think, at like 2.6 something. Like, he's really, like, he's putting the numbers up there.
And if you do bang for your buck compared to Cole, he's way better.
Well, yeah, and also Garrett Cole got worse when you couldn't use Spider Tack, and Robbie Ray is the same, if not better. So.
Yeah. Robbie Ray.
I know this is not really a statistic, but like it feels like even when Ray isn't on, he just gets you through
6 innings, still gets like 6 Ks, 7 Ks, like allows 1 or 2 runs, or allows 3 or 4 runs, but like, yeah, seems to keep them in it, doesn't let it spiral. Like, he's not one of those guys who goes an inning and 2/3, allows 7 runs, throws 70 pitches, and just like destroys the bullpen. Well, it's why, again, we keep mentioning that he's going to make all the money, because even when he's bad, he gives you length. Yeah, so now that he's so good.
He can't not throw a quality start. That's all he does.
Right? What's the stat? I got to find it somewhere. But yeah, he's basically thrown quality starts that like in almost every start this season. He's ridiculous. God, I hope they keep him.
It's getting to the point where it's like, all right, Ray, mix in a few bad starts so that you're not as expensive, but he's incapable at this point of not pitching amazing.
Yeah, well, him and Kevin Gausman, they're talking about it because it's like, yes, you have the guys with the big names like Kershaw and Scherzer, but Gausman and him are both like they're both 29, 30. So they're the guys that should get the biggest contracts. And I mean, both have been phenomenal. So
we were like looking at this season. What was your ceiling for what Ray was going to be? Because I think all of us was like, if he's like a decent, maybe okay 3, like,
yeah,
over the top.
I thought there was a good chance he could be a 3. Maybe
yeah.
I don't know, maybe higher than you guys did, but I obviously didn't see this happen.
I thought he was going to hover around a 4 ERA, have kind of a high, like a 1.3 something, maybe a 1.4 whip, a lot of strikeouts, a lot of walks. Like that's kind of what I figured Robbie Ray was going to be. And if he, you know what I mean, got lucky and didn't allow like the hit after he'd walked 2 guys to score, you know what I mean? Like if he got lucky, I figured he could be an okay number 3, that he'd looked better in spring training. I had no idea this was coming. Not this.
And it doesn't feel like a mirage.
Well, that's the thing. It's just he's just throwing everything for strikes, and he was working quickly. Like it's not some like, oh, it's some weird fluky thing that he's doing that might only last a year. It's a guy that nobody's seen. It's, you know, he's got some kind of junk pitch that no one's seen before. It's not that. It's just a guy who's now throwing strikes and challenging with his stuff, who's always had good stuff. It's all just kind of coming together for him. Now, again, whether this lasts forever, who knows? It's baseball. Weird things happen. Special seasons like this happen all the time. And I always say it, Philip Umber, Dallas Braden, these guys threw perfect games. Baseball is baseball. It's random, and that's part of the reason I think we love it. But Robbie Ray, I did not see this coming in any way, shape, or form, and it's been phenomenal. I really hope they can re-sign him. That would be great. I don't know if they'll afford it, but it would be great. Well, I think the next thing we wanted to talk about, do you want to go to Kirk or Kevin Smith first? Or do you want to just keep the pitching thing going with Manoa?
We can talk about Kirk because I think we kind of went through.
Well,
we've talked a lot about Kirk and how we feel like he hasn't been respected as much.
Especially last week when I was screaming about the worst pinch hitting decision I think I've ever seen. And I've seen Charlie make some really bad ones with that Brevik Valera bunt situation. And then, hey, look, they left Kirk in to hit and he, you know, cashed. Oh, hey, when they brought him in against Gregory Soto, like there were so many moments where it was just like, you know, you're wrong, right? So you've clearly admitted how wrong you are, including when he was hitting cleanup yesterday.
Yeah, now they're overcompensating. They're just trying to get some goodwill with Kirk's. I don't know who Kirk is really behind the scenes, but I'm sure he was really upset about everything that transpired this year as far as his lack of playing time and whatnot. But he's a professional, so we haven't heard anything.
Well, it's just like he could swing the bat. It was kind of frustrating. Which, like, why aren't you using him?
Yeah.
And when no one else is hitting.
Well, that's the thing. And it's like he was on the bench and you wouldn't pinch hit. Like you would let Reese Mcguire face a lefty. Like you would leave Danny Jansen in the game, or you would pinch hit Danny Jansen for Kirk. Or again, in that situation where Kirk makes a mistake and you bring in Brevik Valera to bunt. Why? He's a bat first player. Let him take the at bat and then make the defensive substitute. Like so many head scratching decisions, and it's like, oh, hey, look, they left him in, and like a bunch of positive things happen. Oh, woo, it's too late.
The home run on Saturday it was a legit home run too. He got it. Just putting bat on the ball, having good at bats.
Yeah, I think the thing actually, like something we were going to talk about later, is just like things to look for. One of the big things for me is him behind the plate, and it's actually been noticeable because they've talked about it because this is Buck's hobby horse. There's been situations where he's gotten up off the knee after that ball went through his legs. Now with guys on, exactly, you see him getting up. And see, that's really interesting with Gabriel Moreno coming. Because he's doing things offensively that like Vlad and Bo were doing. And he's a catcher. And by all accounts, he's actually pretty good behind the dish. So, again, he used to be a shortstop, so he's athletic. Like, there's a lot of things to like about Gabriel Moreno. I talked about Kirk a lot as a trade chip, but I mean, having 2 catchers and Kirk, you could DH, like, it's not exactly the worst thing.
And then you got Danny sitting there. Was Kirk the one who caught the Ryu game? I can't remember now. Or was it McGuire?
That might have been McGuire. I think that was a McGuire start.
Was it?
Yeah, I think okay, I think you're right. I think that was the Kirk DH game.
I remember.
That's right. You were there.
I remember like that broadcast, and they were talking about like how they were not on the same page at all. I couldn't remember if it was Kirk or not, but my point being is that as long as there's one guy who you can rely on to be a defensive first catcher, or at least a above average defensive catcher, because we do kind of have that with Danny, and it is nice to have like with guys like Ryu who are so particular about who they throw to. Like you do need someone on the roster who's like that. But if Moreno can provide that, then and you have two guys with offensive upside like that, no one really has that for the catching position.
Well,
So
I still think Danny's going to be around for a little while because the way that Ryu likes him, I think, and the organization seems to like him. I think he's the guy that will be the backup catcher to whatever kid stays here. Because I still think they're going to trade someone. But that's the thing. I've been wrong before, right? So here's the thing: they could keep them. And I would like to see him.
Was still going to be on the team right now.
Good point.
He's pretty bad. So I mean, no one.
Offensively, he's been fine. He's actually been hot since his atrocious start to the season, but defensively, he is. At first base, he looks really good, but in the outfield, he has become unplayable.
Yeah, it's hard to explain some of them, and especially because there was moments where you're like, oh my god, he might not be the best fielder, but his arm is ridiculous, and you thought that would have been enough. But there's been a lot of moments recently where his arm hasn't looked as good, and he's made those stupid mistakes.
Oh God, he's made some just some brutal errors and bad defensive plays. Just he's fine. He's fine. Looks like he could be good at first base. That's Vladdy's position. That's just the end of that.
Well enough to be a first baseman.
I don't know. He's a guy that I kept saying they kind of needed to take advantage of the value. He was older too. He's 27 now. You know, people were interested in him. I thought they should have traded him for something.
It was like the Biggio conversation people were having.
Well, those were a couple of guys. I thought them and Kirk were guys that were going to get moved for real assets. Biggio, maybe they keep and move him around because that's something they seem to like to do with him. But I kind of felt like Gurriel might have been one of those guys. But
and this is probably a good time to say about this Kevin Smith. Like, if he becomes that, Biggio's in trouble as far as.
Well, I want to see him play third base every day now that Espinal's out.
Well, that's it. Espinal's kind of stolen Biggio's job.
Yeah.
Like, Biggio's already out of the picture, really, as far as.
Well, he's out for the season now with that UCL. Like, they haven't announced it, but I don't think he's coming back from a UCL sprain. Like, I think that's it for him for the year. Rest up, get healthy for next year because you're going to be fighting for a job on this team. So, and here's the thing, though. They do need a guy like that who walks, who when some of the bats aren't getting on, they're not getting hits, that he's a guy that can still get on base and still kind of force the issue. So you do need a player like him, and you do need a left-handed bat.
Yeah,
so that's also important to mention.
He definitely has value for, like, the discipline, he runs the bases well, all that. Like, it's so useful.
Yeah,
but as far as the pecking order, with Espinal outplayed him this year, whether health reasons or not, Espinal's been better. And now we have Kevin Smith, who has an opportunity to do something.
Well, and he's another one of those guys that, like, if he's up, he's a guy that I think you should watch for the rest of the season. Because I want to see him specifically at third base, and I want to know what he can do there. Because we were talking about this before we started recording. He hit the home run today. He should have had a home run yesterday. That's a home run, and I think they said 26 other ballparks other than Comerica. So like this should be his second home run. It's felt like he's had good at bats and just hasn't been lucky. He's looked good in this limited sample size, even though the numbers don't seem to be there. I want to see a lot more Kevin Smith. I don't want to see him at third base. That's kind of that's something I've got out of this. So it was nice to see him have a nice game today. He had the home run, he had a walk, and a hit by pitch. So he's a guy that's having the Kevin Biggio breakout in AAA. So I'm interested to see if maybe he's pushed his way into this team's future.
And he's at the shit or get off the pot kind of age too.
Exactly. He's, I think, 24, 25, like 25. Kevin Smith. Like, exactly. Well, Biggio was 24, 25, the same. It's the exact same thing, right? The late bloomer, the college guy that figured it out in your system. So yeah, he's kind of important. Keep an eye on him. And Alec Manoa is just phenomenal. Like we talked this season that if the Jays were going to do anything, and again, we talked about this last week, they're not a playoff team. There's a lot of interesting things to watch for, But we did say if they were going to be an interesting team, a fun team to watch, and there was going to be games that mattered in September, because they're going to be close enough that these games are going to like feel like they matter.
If they
but
sweep the Orioles, that's going to be like watch out
yeah,
for the
but
Jays
again,
kind of
after
beating
what
them.
happened in Washington, you can't say that they're going to sweep the Orioles. But yeah, if they do sweep the Orioles, because the Orioles are really bad, yeah, people are going to get super excited again.
Coming into an Oakland series, yeah. What were you saying?
Alec Manoa, like we said, Vladdy had to be what we were promised, and he has been. He's been better than any, like 1,000 OPS. Like, he's been unbelievable. And we said Pearson had to be the guy that everyone promised. And, well, it does. I don't even know if he's coming up to the big leagues because he's stunk his last couple outings. He can't throw strikes. There's been some problems. But Alec Manoa has been that guy. Like, he's basically shown up into the big leagues. And here's the thing. We were saying this. Nate Pearson, it's not arguably, he has quantifiably better stuff. He throws 6 to 7 miles per hour harder. He has more break. Well, I don't know. Manoa, when that slider curveball thing, well, it's a slider, but when it's moving like it did in that Marlins start, there's not many pitches that are better than it. It looks like Berrios' thing, the slider curveball thing. But Pearson has a slider that can crack 90 and a curveball. Like he is quantifiably has better stuff. Alec Manoa is a big league pitcher because there is no moment that seems to be too big for him. He's not afraid of anyone.
No.
That was cool watching him against Cabrera too.
Oh my, yeah.
It was like, you know how badly he wanted to just get that.
They grew up and watching him, like, that would have been a Miggy fan. I think he did say he was a big Miguel Cabrera fan. Yeah. So
like he has that thing in him where you can't explain it through stats. Like he just has that, like, I'm going to get this guy out. He throws inside. He's just like one of those pitchers who you see and you're like, that's the guy I want pitching for me.
Exactly. Like he hits guys. He's not afraid to stay inside. Like there's a level of confidence, borderlining arrogance that you need to have to be the peak of an athlete in any sport. You have to believe, no matter what, that you actually are the best at what you do. And if you don't have that belief, you won't actually do that. And you can almost feel it watching Alec Manoa, that there is nothing that bothers him. And he said it before in the interviews when he's had bad starts. It's just like, I don't know if you guys understand where I came from in my life. Like, his bad start really isn't that big of a deal. Like, I will be better. Like, it's just, there's, like Theo said, there's something about him that's just unquantifiable that you're just like, I feel like you're going to be really good.
No, you see him in the dugout. Was he just laughing all the time? You see what they say about him, that he's been on the team for 10 years, right? When he shows up, he just carries himself that way. Well, Nate Pearson does not at this point.
Okay,
so.
This wasn't a.
Well, this isn't a trash Nate Pearson thing. This is just like an Alec Manoa's awesome. I know
what you mean.
The frustrating thing with Pearson is it does seem to be the opposite. Whereas Manoa seems to be oozing with confidence. It seems that the issue is mental with Pearson, since his stuff is so good. It could be mechanical for all I know. I'm not a pitching coach. There could be a mechanical issue. Like, he'd been hurt in the past, this whole season. So that could be it. But
if it is a mental thing, we got a guy now on these broadcasts who's got a lot of experience with this mental side of pitching.
He didn't come back from it, though.
I know, but maybe you see from the other side. Maybe you understand it more. Ricky Romero is now around the
I don't know
team
if
now.
that's the one that you want.
I know,
mentoring
but
Nate.
There's some kind of insight. You have, like Ryan Leaf. If you were an NFL bust, would you be like, "Hey Ryan, what did you do that I shouldn't do?" Like stuff like that.
I don't know if I'd ask.
My off base
Ryan
here.
Leaf
I feel like
any.
talking to a guy who went through those mental struggles is a good thing to kind of get his perspective.
Yeah, I guess. Like, you want to see how he struggled, but like, if you're Nate Pearson, you would want to know someone who overcame those things. You know what I mean?
Jordan Romano?
Votto?
Oh.
Well, yeah,
Votto.
Yeah. Well, that's a guy who literally overcame, exactly. And is still one of, he's a Hall of Famer. That's Joey Votto is just a different breed of baseball. Exactly. He's a special baseball player.
Rick Romero, straining order, not. Okay.
Well, it's essentially the guy that you would have wanted to talk to him is no longer with us. It's Doc, because that was a guy that was the number 1 overall prospect. You know what I mean? Fell apart at the big leagues, went all the way back to A-ball, was rebuilt, and then is a Hall of Famer.
Chris Carpenter had a similar journey.
Yeah, but he's not in the Jays organization. It's like it's just trying to go through my head of like guys that would have been in spring training. That's just like you would have want Nate to go talk to. Yeah. That's kind of that would have actually been the number one guy. But
if he was a hitter,
you need to find someone for Nate to. You do need to find someone, I think, for Nate to go talk to, because because again, it's not the stuff. You don't throw 100 and that's not the problem. So hopefully he can get we'd like to see him at the big league level, but I don't know what they're going to do with him. He's got to get it figured out. You
were saying before, it's like someone needs to just tell him, hey, you throw this down the middle, no one's going to touch you.
It's right. Like, here, someone's going to hit it eventually. Like, you're going to give up home runs. Like, it's going to happen. That's modern baseball.
Robbie Ray does that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. You can point to another guy in the rotation. It's like, here's a dude that basically is going to do what you do. He just does it from the left side, where he goes, okay, I throw like 95 plus. So I'm just going to try to throw it right down the dick because I'm going to try to overpower everybody. We talked about it with Aaron Sanchez. It's almost why I don't want to see him at the big league level before he's ready, but I want him with Pete Walker. Because that was the thing, apparently, that they kept telling Aaron Sanchez was your ball moves so much, just throw it right down the fucking middle. It's going to move to the edges. And with Nate, if he's having a problem because he's trying to dot the side, dude, you can throw 100, so just let it eat. Just don't try to aim it. Just let it go. Throw it as hard as you can and try to throw it down the middle because it's going to move somewhere. It's not going to go right down the middle. Because here's the thing, even unless you're Zach Greinke, it doesn't go exactly where you want it to go. It goes in the general vicinity. That's what pitching is, right? So when you have that kind of stuff, exactly, just throw it in the fucking zone. Guys aren't going to be able to hit it.
And we were talking if it was more physical or mental. And you said it earlier, I don't know if it was on the show, how it seemed like when Pearson was being told, like, hey, the next start, you'll be in the big leagues, just don't. And then he would have that walk issue. Like, it has to be like him thinking, I got to be perfect on the corners. I have to, pitch like so much better than he needs to actually pitch because his stuff is so good.
They bring him back from the injury. He's blowing guys away. He's throwing over 100. I watched some of it on Buffalo. They had some of the fucking things. Like, I didn't go to Buffalo, but I have the MLB TV thing so I can watch it. They were showing it on Sportsnet, some of his highlights, because he was blowing people away for 2 or 3 appearances. And then they were like, okay, you got one more start and you're going to the big leagues. And he couldn't throw a strike. And then they were like, well, not start. You're getting one more bullpen appearance and you're going to the big leagues. And then he had that one. So they're like, okay, well, one more. And then he wasn't good in that one. So that's the reason I point to mental.
No,
personally.
They should tell him you're never going to make the majors. You're horrible. And then
I don't know if that's going to work, but okay.
Tony tried that with Kevin Biggio.
You're going to the majors. Wow. You said I never would. Problem solved.
Oh my God.
Coach Anthony never believed in me, and I made it anyway.
Yeah, but this was supposed to be more of a Manoa thing because it's just he's special, man. Like you've got something there, and it's why I would love for them to sign Robbie Ray, because you start to look at the rotation next year and you're like, Ryu's still been good. Like, even though he's got bombed at times, this is a guy that doesn't throw, he barely throws 90, and it's the American League East, and he's got a sub-4 ERA. And he was a Cy Young candidate in his first year of this contract, and he's been healthy this whole deal. So far, this contract's already been a win, and you're like, well, you got him next year, so that's, at worst, you're like, well, that's a number 3. And you got Manoa. I don't know what he's going to be in his second year, but you feel really good about it. You feel really good that Berrios is consistent, which is nice that he had his start today. If you could bring Robbie Ray back, that's you start to look at it, you're like, oh, hell, this is actually a really nice top 4. And then they brought in Matz, who's been, 5, has an ERA under 4 with a whip where it's I think it's 1.33 or some shit like that.
Like one of the better 5s.
Right?
He's a free agent too. So
yeah, no, but they brought in a guy like that who we screamed and yelled about, and then Stripling, who looked toast. And then they're like, okay, we'll just throw out of the windup and hold your hands in a different way. And he finally listened to Pete Walker. And then what happened? He looked like he was good. And I think they have an extra year. I have this feeling he has this extra year of control.
It was 3 years, and we got him 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I feel like exactly he will be a Blue Jay next year if they qualify him, obviously tender him a contract, all that shit. But I think that could be your number 5 with Nate Pearson if he gets it together.
Or he's just your Trent Thornton next year, and you have a deeper rotation.
Which do you not feel better about that?
Yes, I would be much happier with him back there.
right? And you hopefully Nate Pearson is your 5, and then now you're starting to look at an actual good rotation. And Jordan Romano has looked really okay. And here's another thing we were talking about: looking forward down the rest of the season. There's only 4 relievers that really matter. Like Connor Overton's great, but you get guys like this every September, like late August into September, who like remember Jose Ramirez with the Blue Jays, who had like a 0 ERA all in the minors, and he came up and he threw 93, like never allowed to run, and then they DFA'd him, and he never did anything in the big leagues ever again. Like there are always these guys who kind of come up. So Connor Overton, maybe he's a thing, I don't know. But the 4 guys that actually matter are Simber, Richards, Romano, and Meza. And if they're good down the stretch, you're looking at your bullpen in the offseason, and you're like, that's not bad for 4 guys. Like we get you add one more high impact reliever there, and you're like, wow, that's actually okay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
and I don't want to mention his name, but there is also Merriweather who's kind of hanging around. And
oh well, it was hilarious. Did you see the Dan Schulman tweet that he was in Buffalo and he threw like he had this phenomenal fucking inning that he was clean inning, he was just K'ing everybody and hitting 100, and he's died. I don't believe he's even alive at this point. I think it's their weekend in Bernie's. That's what's happening at this point. Yeah, exactly. He's not actually pitching. It's not actually happening. None of this is really going on, and they're just telling us this is what's happened. And at this point, he's dead.
It's like the people that the conspiracy theory about Babe Ruth not being a real person.
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
creating this character.
Yeah, well, I used to joke around that he wasn't a real human being, and then we saw him in spring training, and then he made the team, and it was like, holy shit, he's like in the pandemic season. And I was like, oh my God, maybe he is a real human being. Now I'm starting to think that this has just been the long con, that he didn't really exist, and all of this was just the long con to.
Did it even happen, really?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just a fever dream. Did it really happen? It happened in the pandemic season. Do we really remember that? Or was it just some weird, maybe it's the microchip or some other bullshit that I'm trying to go with all the tinfoil hat. I wish I had a tinfoil hat. Like, have you ever seen the 1 Minute Man where KFC goes into like the crazy tinfoil hat theory? And when he says the most ridiculous shit, he just throws on the tinfoil hat. I wish I had one of those. So every once in a while I could just completely steal that bit.
They're on his show. You didn't see that?
Julian Merriweather.
He doesn't exist. He's not real. It's just been a whole big fever dream, like Theo said. But no, like those are the guys you're basically watching for in the bullpen the rest of the year. Simber was good today. Romano,
he has a mustache now,
which is that gross mustache actually suits him so well. I love it. Yeah. I love it. It's so greasy.
Yeah,
so perfect.
By the way, we were talking about Morano. Imagine if we let him go 2 innings at other points in the season.
And oh my God. And the best part is they do it in a non-save situation, in a situation that was the most important situation of the game. And they brought him out, and exactly, he went 2 innings. And there's been many things like the Kirk situation where like, so you're just admitting now that you were wrong the entire season, that all the bullshit we had to deal with, you were just wrong, or there were injuries that we didn't know about, which is even more frustrating. Because, should we get to the George Springer thing while I'm pissed off about him DHing? Should we get to that, or should we continue? Yeah.
We had a 15-minute pre-show talking about what we're going to talk about. I didn't even think of Springer.
I think it's because we got so much off when I sent you guys the tweet. Hold on, where's the? It's got to be at our group chat. Hold on, boys. Keep this on the rails while I find it. No, I got it right here. So this is from Ben Nicholson-Smith. Blue Jays expect George Springer to DH regularly when he returns from injury, per Charlie Montoyo. That informed the Gerard Dyson waiver claim. Dyson still en route to the Jays. He played today. And the decision DH Vlad Jr. yesterday. These DH at-bats may soon be less available. Didn't we do this once? Did they not learn? Did we not do this one time?
No, it's different this time.
A different injury. Come on.
Completely different injury now.
Yes, it's only his knee this time.
You can't re-aggravate a knee injury.
It's a different lower
It never happens.
Did they not watch football and the amount of times the guy's like, oh, it's a sprain, and then he goes in and then he tears his ACL? Is that not the first? I'm sorry, that's the first thing I thought of.
It's not even an ankle injury. It's a knee injury.
So much worse. So much worse.
Something different.
So much worse. That if they're going to bring him back, they're going to let him decide again when he's ready, probably ahead of time. Because you not hear the reports that Springer feels like he hopes he can play tomorrow on Monday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, because today's Sunday. I'm just, putting it in context for people who aren't listening to it in real time. They're doing it again.
When the playoffs seemingly are out of reach, too.
See, they're definitely out of.
I mean, if we sweep the Orioles.
Yeah, well, again, we're talking about if we sweep the Orioles. What happened against Washington?
I don't care. We're going Friday. If they sweep the Orioles, we're all going to get excited about the team for a couple of hours.
Oh, we'll be very excited during this A's series.
If they sweep the Orioles, that's 5 in a row. That's a it's a win streak. But yeah, you're right. This is really stupid. This doesn't make any sense.
How frustrating is this? Because I'll be honest, I'm furious. Like it's infuriating because I've said a lot of positive. I'm not a Shatkins person. There's been a lot of things this front office has done. I've talked about the fact that we've all talked about the fact that they've spent the money, that they've actually walked the walk. They made the big trade with Berrios. They put their nuts on the trail, traded the big prospects, did the things. One thing that they've been consistently bad with is guessing and estimating injuries and reporting and diagnosing and everything involved with injuries. They're just bad with.
Yeah, we have 4 more years of this. This is only the first year, George. It's only going to be older.
Oh, I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to go there about a 31-year-old outfielder who's now having lower body injuries on a regular basis. That now, granted, only one of them was a soft tissue injury, which was the hamstring. Like this was a pretty came down wrong. This could happen to anyone. Look at Ronald Acuna, who's 22. He tore his ACL. Like it happens to anyone. But don't bring that up, Tony. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I hope they have some awakening in the front office because there's going to be more ailments.
I just hope they stop letting guys decide. You know what I mean? Like let's fire all the doctors, get new doctors, and then rely on those doctors when they say that people are ready. Maybe this is the problem. Maybe they're like, fuck, George, maybe we're just gonna believe you because that doctor has no idea what the hell's going on. So maybe you know what's going on.
Yeah, that too.
But if we were like a game back, I'd kind of have a different opinion on this. I'd be like, all right, I guess we need his bat to have a chance this season. But the fact that it's like, if he goes off, the offense turns into what it was in July, it's just going to put us in that position that's like kind of in it, but not really. So I don't know. I don't know what the upside is. Maybe seeing the team, have a good September gives everyone that little jolt, but I don't think that's worth.
Yeah, but if it's a matter of a couple games just to make sure that he's actually healthy, like what the fuck are we doing? Like make sure he can play in the field because you tried this once with this player.
Yeah.
He hit a home run though. That one time he
hit 2. He hit one of them 470 feet. He only needed 1 quad for that apparently.
You only need 1 knee to hit dingers. So
it's the only part of baseball.
I'm very upset about this. Like I'm very upset because I'm very afraid of what could possibly happen here.
I don't want to put this out there, but what day are we gonna have to do an emergency podcast being like Springer's back on the IL?
Friday.
I was about to say, why? We're at the game because you know what's gonna happen. We're all gonna get together to have a nice couple of drinks, maybe have do something interesting before we go to the game, and which could be like the second we all get together. We're all gonna get the notification, look down at the phone, and it's gonna be like George Springer on the IL again.
After his 3-year home run day in Baltimore. George
exactly. He's gonna DH. He's gonna have a 3-dinger game, and then in his 4th at bat, he's gonna try to leg out a fucking
Yeah.
I don't even want to go down this rabbit hole because I've already gone to
he's many. Gonna be told to steal in a 9-1 game.
Oh, don't.
Oh, it's gonna be his decision.
It's
100% gonna ruin it.
Yeah. I think you gotta protect him from himself. This is really not feeling great.
I guess, I don't know, unless there's anything else you guys want to talk about. The last thing I think I would like to point to before we wrap this up is Vladdy and Bo have looked better. And I guess that was kind of one of the last really important things about the rest of the season. Because we've been talking about it. We said it last podcast. This is not a playoff team. They've given away too many games to be a playoff team. We even said this when they made the trades. They needed to make 1 million trades to be a playoff team. And then they were like, well, they need to win 60% of their games. And then they kept losing. And then they needed to beat good teams. And then they beat the Red Sox. And then they fucking started losing to bad teams. So they're probably not a playoff team. They're not a playoff team. But they're an interesting young team. They're fun. They're developing. So Vladdy and Bo are the center. Like, that's the offensive heart of this team. And they've been looking better. And what I want to see is them get hot and really go on a run in September.
I agree. I want to win a lot of games. Have a
I
good
want
one.
Springer to Lego doubles.
Then we're gonna have a nice preview of whatever their slogan's gonna be next year. It's gonna be like, wow, they finished the year strong.
Finish stronger.
What was this year's? Because it was so bad we stopped using it. Was it Blue Grit? Or it was Blue Grit? It was something stupid.
Hashtag We Are Blue Jays or something. It was very, very basic. That's their Twitter hashtag.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, it was We Are Blue Jays. That's the one that gets you the little Twitter.
Finish stronger will be like the September slogan for next year, if I can prediction. Because they finished strong this year, finish stronger. The ER will be capitalized.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, just Vladdy and Bo they've had the seasons I guess you would have wanted them to have. They've both been phenomenal, and you just want to see them end strong. Because again, I kept saying at least, but like I'm pretty sure we all felt the consensus of they're not bad. They're just they're tired. And Bo, it's not even just Bo that was tired. Bo fouled balls off both of his legs. Probably should have gone on the IL with the shin contusions.
Yeah. Even when Bo was he's kind of broken out of it the last few days. Even when he was struggling, though, there was a lot of at-bats where he was hitting the ball and it was just bad luck. And I think he was starting to get out of it even when we were talking about it last week. And now it seems like the numbers are starting to turn around.
I think it was Joe Siddle did a thing. I love, like, Joe Siddle's pretty amazing at what he does. But he was talking about it with Bo. Bo's been better, and he kind of toned, like, he's done this when he started to struggle, where he just tones the leg kick down and does the 2-strike approach throughout entire at-bats until he gets going again. And you've started to see that. And what did Vladdy go today? Like, I know he had a couple of things. Like, you're starting to see him.
The baseball.
That's what I mean. Like, you're starting to see him break out of it too. And it would just be great. It'd be very reassuring to see them get hot, because it's like, okay, that validates the unbelievable seasons they had. And you just go, okay, no, I feel good about that. Like, you know what I mean? You go, okay, I feel good about these guys. George Springer, we're going to say, like, unless he fucking breaks himself because they're going to DH him because they're fucking stupid. Hopefully you just go, okay, that's just what happens. But he's been a guy who's been healthy his entire career for the most part. So it's like, that's our center fielder. Like, you got pieces, right? Teoscar, boom. That's an outfielder. That's done. He's going to be your guy. Like, the team's coming together next year a lot better. And there's still a lot of those guys here this year that we can enjoy.
Yeah.
Probably not Semi and hopefully Robbie Ray, but who knows?
Another thing that just hit me too is that the tickets will probably increase soon for seating, and they're definitely
probably they're 100% going to get increased, because I don't think we talked about this yet, but on September 13th, I don't know if they're increasing capacity yet, but they're requiring everyone to have proof of vaccination, because all of the buildings. Well, yeah, or negative test, because all of the buildings in Canada are basically going to full capacity with that.
Yeah,
and you know that
they're hoping for it.
Yeah, exactly. They're hoping to get at least a week or two at the end of September where they can go full capacity and pack the fucking dome and make some money.
They're going to want to stay close, because if they get Springer in there and they can hype up those last few weekend series, that's
because if the organization is smart, they're going to sell it as, we want to do this because we believe this team is a playoff team. We haven't lost faith yet. They'll release some really shitty corporate statement that basically says that. But you know what I mean? Like, that's what you want to hear. As much as I'm like shitting on it, that is what you want to hear, though. You don't want to hear a team being like, oh, we're trying to finish strong for next year. You want them to be like, yeah, technically we have to fucking run the table, but whatever, fuck it. We think we can do it. Right? Like, you just want to hear the positivity come out of the organization and from ownership, and like, because you want to know that they're going to keep spending money, because they have been. And they haven't been able to pack the building, which has stopped other teams from spending money, and thank God it hasn't stopped the Blue Jays. So
that's what a huge TV deal will do for you.
Well, when you own the team, so you have the content for free.
That's a good point.
Right? Like, that's they don't have the deal because the parent company doesn't have to pay for those rights. It's actually more valuable to Roger. Like, if you think about it, owning that team outright is more valuable than if they were to pay for media rights, because they own everything about it. So they can break it all down other than the digital portion. But again, the digital portion is blacked out in Canada and they get it on Sportsnet now. So they've even got around that.
Yeah. They got it all figured out.
But let's not like get really down the corporate rabbit hole, because they should have enough money to keep spending money because they've spent money. But is there anything else you guys wanted to get to, I guess, before we wrap this one up?
I have one more thing to watch out for this season.
Which is?
See if Randall Grichuk can keep his OPS above 700.
You just had to fucking tear. You just had to throw one last negative. I was trying to end it on a good note. You just had to bring that up. Oh God,
it's dropping. I'm really interested to see where it ends up. That's it.
What's his on base even? Because I think it's below 284. It was 284 the last time I looked, and I feel like it's below that now.
He didn't get on base today. I don't think.
Okay, here. So let's end this by looking at the score app that has the update.
He got screwed over on one of the strikeouts. He had a full count. Pitch was outside. They called it a strike.
Well, he might have gotten screwed over in this game, but that hasn't stopped him swinging at some truly awful pitches.
I'll give him
284.
He nailed that. He should have won.
And after today, it's 282 because he went 0 for 4.
722 OPS. We're getting close. It was at like 860 through like May.
Woof.
Yeah.
Woof. Oh my God. And Reese Mcguire, who's now 268 with a 327 on base, has a 693. He has a sub 700 OPS because all he hits is slap singles.
Man,
which is
who
why
saw that coming?
Kirk's 800 plus OPS is, I don't know why. I know he was hurt, but when he came back, he probably should have started a hell of a lot more, especially when Danny Jansen got hurt. But again, it's not like, it's not like I disagree with Charlie Montoyo about everything. Thanks, Theo. Now we're off the tracks getting all super negative before we end this thing.
I had to bring it up.
All right.
It's all I've been watching for the last week. I've been tracking it.
That's true. I just scream at Charlie. There's so many Charlie Montoyo things that make me want to fucking smash my head through a wall. But anyways, we'll wrap this sucker up. This has been the Toronto Untitled Blue Jays podcast. I'm Steve Artabello with Anthony Harris and Theo Giordano. As always, you can find us at our website, torontountilt.com. You can find us on Twitter at Toronto Untilt. You can find our YouTube where the video of this podcast is posted, Toronto Untilt. And of course, you can find our audio anywhere that you listen to podcasts. So that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Bleaker, all of the things. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. And there are some positive things, and it's a young team, and God damn it. Oh, yeah, hopefully Grichuk's OPS is above 700.
He crushes the Orioles. So, big week ahead.
Who doesn't crush the Orioles?